Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel and another episode of The Good, The Scrap, and The Script, a series where I review weapons I found, made, or, received in Appalachia and see how well they do. And with the newest of patches, the raids, and all manner of different things, we have a bunch of new weapons and new versions of weapons to test out. And today we're revisiting a weapon with an addition of the 4-star mod on there. Either way, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's see how well it does. Now you might recognise this weapon. I named it the Moon Shoveler. Now this is an anti-armour weapon speed, reload speed, and Bully's effect. Now if you don't know what the Bully's effect does, when attacking outside of VATS, you deal an extra 50% damage to weak points. So, heads, fusion cores, all manner of different points in enemies. And because of the V63 carbine's incredible stability and thus accuracy, I think this is a really good effect that should, in theory, work incredibly well on this weapon. But we're going to have to see how well it does because, the proof is in the testing. But before we do anything else, this is the current build that we're using here. As you can see, there's lots of different cards on there. Take a screenshot, pause the video, whatever you want to do that and figure it out. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest, it's been a while since I have been on any other character than my power armor character. So I'm a little bit rusty when it comes to everything else, and with this weapon, you primarily need to use it hip-fired, because it has the most terrible, iron sight of all weapons, and it's just generally really stable and really good for using it. Now, you're seeing, this weapon, and especially with the legendary effect that I've got on there, is best utilised by somebody who has really good aim, but you're seeing that the weapon against just regular super mutants completely minces them into oblivion. Now, outside of me missing my shots, this will kill enemies pretty damn quick, and if I'm landing those headshots, then it is all the quicker because you are getting that extra 50% damage. And I think Bullies is the perfect effect to put on here. You're seeing that these enemies evaporate and disintegrate in a literal instant when I am getting those headshots in. And the bigger problem I think you're going to run into with this weapon is that against enemies that don't have a more obvious weak point, you're going to struggle a bit more. And you might actually be better going down the route of using something along the lines of pinpointers and just using VATS for it. This weapon is a lot more viable in VATS since the more recent patch, but it's still, I feel, better utilised in general play through the hip fire mechanic. But, as you're seeing, completely demolishes these guys. And as always with these videos, we come to Jeff. Now I'm going to let Jeff wake up a little bit before I start wailing on him. And you're going to see, when I'm getting my hits on his head, we are killing him pretty damn quick. But you do have the kind of problem that this weapon struggles more against enemies that move around a lot. But it does take him out relatively quickly. It is, in comparison, kinda expensive for the ammo, but it does the trick. Up next, we have the Mirelurk Queen. Now, because of the way I have built this character, we are quite tanky. But one thing I will say is this weapon is going to struggle against her, because her actual weak point and the weak point that the game kinda acknowledges are two different things. Because her actual weak point is her legs. But the game acknowledges her face as her weak point, which intrinsically takes less damage if you're shooting her in it. This is one of these enemies that, you're kind of not going to be able to utilise Bullies very well. You're just basically just going to shoot her in the legs. It kills her quick, especially when you're using things like suppressors. But it's also not the best weapon or the best way to use this weapon against her. I would certainly recommend using something else against a target like the Mirelurk Queen. Now this is where this weapon becomes incredibly interesting. And the reason I say that is that if you don't know about the V63 carbine, it has a special mechanic in relation to it, where you have a bar that when it reaches a certain point in that bar, it then does superior damage. However, if you go beyond that bar, you cause the weapon to break quicker, but you're still doing like incredibly good damage. And you can balance it if you stagger the fire rate, and you can keep it in that state of not overheated enough, but overheating. And with raids, you don't need to worry about this. You can let this weapon go full throttle. As a result, you end up with that superior damage most of the time you're firing this weapon. And as a result, this actually competes with the equivalent weapons in the range of Gatling plasmas and Gauss minis. I was rattling off the numbers that I was doing on enemies, and a friend of mine, Kenobi, who you should all know by now, is saying that his weapon was doing comparative damage to it. As a result, the weapon was doing a lot of damage, and what I could do that he could not is I reload significantly quicker. I am able to sustain my fire rate if I get staggered. I can just instantly go back into firing because I don't have spin-up. And overall, this weapon felt incredibly competitive on any boss fight that required me to use it. I felt like I was contributing to this raid quite well in comparison. And I'm not using VATS, I'm not using heavy, I am just using a commando build where I am manually aiming things. And I feel like this weapon has a lot more utility in raids than I actually suspected coming into this video. I'm genuinely shocked at how well it did. I was thinking it would be okay, it'd be middling, it'd be alright, but it's actually fantastic. So that was today's video and the V63 carbine, and I open this up to you guys. What did you think of the numbers you were seeing on the screen, and what do you think of this weapon in general? Overall, I'm actually genuinely impressed. I just didn't think it would be able to compete with a Gatling plasma on the same sense of, just shooting into an enemy and doing the damage. But once it heats up, it definitely does put out comparative numbers. And because of its superior stability, it puts out comparative numbers and almost guarantees the shots are going to land true. When I'm firing a Gatling plasma or anything else at an enemy, it is a little bit like wiggly wiggly, but this is like a laser beam. Now granted, with the Gauss minigun, it is a fairly steady and stable weapon, so it is kind of on that same level as that, I feel. But I don't think that you can get the sheer damage numbers that you would see with obviously using VATS and crits. And that is where this weapon is kind of a slight letdown, but at the same time, it's not a spin-up weapon. If you get stunned, you don't get stunned out of your weapon animation as easily, and you can get back into firing quicker. Your maneuverability is a lot better because you're not relying on VATS, so you're constantly firing and jumping and all that kind of thing. So it gives you a superior survivability, I found. And with the build I'm using, I did not die in the raids trying to film this outside of any single shot, instant bullshit mechanic. I was able to do what I needed to do, and I was able to do it consistently. And maybe my DPS isn't the pinnacle of what it could be, but I'm capable of putting something out and putting out consistent damage. And I feel like this weapon is going to be slept on by a lot of people. And maybe with the ghoul coming in, this is actually going to be an even better weapon with the mechanics coming in surrounding that. I really don't know. I think it's just going to have to be a wait and see kind of thing, because I have tried my very best to not look into that stuff because I don't like spoilers. Either way, guys, once again I'll ask, what do you guys think? And with that, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time in the Wasteland.
Pop open, it's a nuclear pop. Stabbing and swooping wild like a lark. Testing weapons, bang bang sparks. Radiation. and hum and glowing stock. Swinging in down Appalachian Trail, Mothman legends, tales prevail. Strip for the traders, scrap on sale. Building forts, raiders on our tail. Oh, the good, the scrap, and the street. Wandering wasteland, loose on the lip. Barter and hustle ain't just a quip. Survivors dance, got a weapon on the hip. Oh, the good, the scrap, and the street. Wandering wasteland, loose on the lip. Barter and hustle ain't just a quip. Survivors dance, got a weapon on the hip. Crafting stations, tinker's delight. Fixing shotguns, new rifles tight. Ghouls round the corner, gotta fight. Day turns to night, it'll flash so bright.